My name is Kirsty and welcome to Kirsty Knits and Sews. This is my podcast where I share about all the things that I've been making. Today I have knitting, crochet, spinning, yarn dyeing. All of this is for fun. I don't own a shop or anything like that, so you cannot buy any of the products that I make. It is just purely for the joy of making, and I do love sharing with you. I live in Tarnów in Poland with my husband and my two kids. We are all originally from Australia, and so now we're living in Poland, and I do not have an in-person group to craft with at the moment, although I have to say I keep meeting people at my new church who knit, and I'm hoping that we will have an in-person craft group soon. Even if we do, I will continue to do videos because I love sharing with all of my online friends that I've made here. I do have an in-person friend coming to visit me this afternoon, and so I wanted to record this podcast before she comes. Not because I couldn't record it with her or while she's here, but I do want to spend as much time as I can with her while she's visiting. Hi Rosie, by the way. And so I wanted to record this quickly because she'll be here with us for about a week, and I didn't want to wait another week to share with you all the things. So let's jump in. It is August 7. I think this is episode number 67 of my podcasts. Wow, that seems to be climbing up there. And to start with, I'm going to share my July stats with you. So in July, I had 2 skeins come into my stash. Both of those were hand spun. And I will show you this one quickly now because it is washed and finished. Look at that giant skein. This is a 200 gram skein. 100 grams of the fibre was from Cat & Sparrow Fibres in the colour Nectar, 100% merino, and the other one was from Felting You, also 100% merino. It was just, I think, number 9. She has a few like off skeins, and it was one of those, so it was a little bit cheaper than her regular ones, although I find Felting You's prices very good. And it is a total of 530 metres for the 200 grams. It is super squishy. I did this short forward, so yeah, like it's much squishier than I expected it to be. It is a 2-ply, and I would say heavy sport, light DK as an average here. But I just want to show you that that is one of the skeins that came into my stash. The other one is also hand spun, but I showed it finished last episode maybe. And this one I showed it hadn't been finished. So that is finished. And this was combo drafted. So Nectar, which was bright orange, yellow, pink, and the other one, which was almost white with just a little bit of blue. And I think there was one part that had a tiny bit of brown, which I won't be able to find right now. You look. And just a little bit of purple as well. That's a bit of a chunkier bit. Don't know if you can see the purple there. But yes, combo drafted. So I held them fibres together and drafted them together into the singles, and then I plied 2 singles together to make a 2-ply. Delightful. Okay, so that was one of my skeins in. The other skein was 50 grams of hand spun. I did not buy any yarn in July. It was only hand spun that was into my stash, and out of my stash were 3 skeins. So I'm 1 down. I ended the month on 590 skeins. That is still higher than where I started the year, but I'm working on it. However, I finished 4 projects and total grams used was 1,847 grams. Yes, only 4 skeins out, and that is mostly because of a technicality of I don't count acrylic in my skein amount. I finished an acrylic blanket, so that was why. I also finished a project that I'm about to show you, which was a 250 gram skein, so still only counts as 1 skein. But yes, that is where I am up to at the end of July. That is, in 1 month, again, more than I used in the total combined in the first 4 months of the year. So there you go. That's a big number. And I did do a little bit of maths last night before I went to bed because I was thinking about this. I'm not tracking grams in. I am tracking grams out, but I am also tracking skeins in. So any skeins that come in hand spun or bought or gifted, I record in my book. I didn't include hand spun in this, but I did go into what I've bought or been given. And I have used more grams than I have brought in. I estimated, I didn't do it exactly, but I estimated about a kilogram, 1,000 grams more out than in so far. So that was fun. That's again not including acrylic, because acrylic doesn't count for the way that I'm doing this. That's just the way I do it. So there you go. No, that's not actually true. Acrylic does count. This one that I finished, that I'll show you in a second, is acrylic. What I mean by acrylic doesn't count is acrylic for my corner to corner blankets or my scrap acrylic does not count. If I have a specific skein like this that I bought to make a baby blanket, I do count it in my stash. And so that was one of the skeins out. Anyway, this is just how I do it here. Everyone has a different way of tracking and some people don't track at all, but I am tracking. If you're new here, welcome. We have just moved from a house into an apartment and this is our bedroom. In fact, this quilt on the bed was a wedding present. I worked at a quilt shop when I got married and this was made by some of the women who I worked with as a wedding present. Very, very special. But yes, we now live in an apartment and we don't have as much room in the apartment as we had in the house. And so I'm now more deliberately trying to stash down where the first few months of the year I bought stuff, moving stress. All right, that is July stats. And I did have a note here with my first finished object and stats is when I finish, spoiler, I finished the socks that go with this. So if you've been around, you know what they are, but I'll show you in a sec. This was a sock set, which means I didn't use more than 50 grams, which means that I put it back into my stash and I don't count this as a skein out. However, I'm considering changing this because I don't want to pick this up and knit another pair of socks with it. I used both of the contrast minis as part of that and I was thinking of using them in a different way, but I'm just, I think, going to keep them there for colourwork socks because great for colourwork socks. But I don't really want to leave this in my stash until I use it again for a pair of socks. I think I'd rather put this into my scraps, which means that that would be a skein out. Although I definitely have enough to do other socks here. And so I'm like, maybe I should do another pair of socks that is colourwork. Maybe that was the other thing. I was winding off 5 grams of every finished fingering weight yarn to go into 2 blankets. So 10 grams, 2 balls of 5 grams. And I haven't been doing that. And so if I start doing that for things like this, then I would probably end up with a lot more skeins out of my stash. But do I do that now or do I wait until I use it again? If you have thoughts on this, let me know. It's not that important. It's just a pondering. But yeah, I think I'd rather say that's a skein out of my stash and put these into scraps so I can then use them for scrappy projects rather than put this back on my sock yarn shelf to try and figure out a way to use it in socks. Current thoughts. This is also affected by the fact that I've been going through my scrappy yarns quite a few times recently and I don't have as many scrap yarns as I wish. I love scrappy knitting. All right, moving on to the actual finished objects, which I've just realized one more thing. I'm wearing my V-back tee back to front. It's a pattern by Jamie Hoffman. I finished this earlier this year as part of the tea knit along that I was hosting and I love it. I wore it almost non-stop for a couple of weeks. I may put it aside for washing, but it's a cotton merino. It has been quite loose. It didn't start stinking, anything like that. And then we had a couple of heat waves and I could not even fathom putting it on. We had a heat wave that finished. It broke about 5 a.m. this morning. We had thunder, we had lightning. And today I put this back on again. I am feeling a little warm right now, but it was perfect for shopping, going out in the rain. I love it. The yarn for this one is Lang Yarns, I believe it's Footprints. I will link the project page down below to this and every other project that I talk about if you're interested in more information about them, yarn, needles. If you have specific questions and you can't find information on the project page, please let me know. Some of them are not completely complete, but I do try when I can to put the information there. All right, so first finish, which is actually the second finish, but it's on my lap, so I'm going to show you now. These are the Gerst, I'm calling them the Gerst Stringy Bark socks. These are, the Gerst sock pattern is in 52 Weeks of Socks. That was a book that my sister gave me for Christmas or birthday one year, I don't remember. But it was a gift from my sister and her family. And I had plans to go from the beginning to end, and I did not do that. But I decided I'm going to start knitting through some of the patterns in the book. These socks in the book had a different cuff. The pattern, when I read it, sounded really confusing. They had a lot of like this row, this row, this row type thing. And so I just looked at it and went, this is the basic pattern. I understand that. I'm going to put that into the Vanilla Socks on Magic Loop by Kaye the Crazy Sock Lady, which is what I do as my vanilla socks. So easy, great, not a problem. I started these as part of the 12 cast-ons of Christmas. It was day 10 when I decided rather than one cast-on, I would start a project of 15 pairs of socks. This is sock 7, so I'm almost halfway there. Sorry, pair number 7, almost halfway there. So yes, I started these on, I think it was the 5th of January, if I remember correctly. Yeah, great. I did the cuff twice because I started once according to the pattern, and then I was like, nah, I'm just going to do vanilla socks, 2x2 rib, which is what I always do for them, and then go into the pattern. Great. They sat there, and they sat there, and they sat there. And I have knit lots of socks this year, like at least 6 other pairs. This pair just sat there. They weren't hard, I just didn't touch them. And like I would occasionally knit a few rounds late at night, but like I'm talking, hadn't even finished the foot. And then recently I was like, I just need to get them done. Like I'm not enjoying them clearly because I'm not picking them up, but I just need to get them done. Got through the heel, actually started the heel, got through the heel, and they sat there. And I picked them up and I thought, you know what, maybe I need to do these on DPNs. I was doing it Magic Loop. That's my go-to easy no think thing is Magic Loop. I moved them over to DPNs, and I think one day later this sock was done, and maybe 3 days later it had a pair. It was crazy. Like I messaged a few people and like, I don't know why, maybe it's just overly romanticizing sock knitting or something, but I really want to do these DPNs. It sounds fun to me, I'm going to give it a go. And I flew through them. I did have a couple of meetings at church at night, and so I did knit these while I was in that meeting, and that definitely gave me some time. But I don't think I would have knit them in the meeting if they were on Magic Loop. I think I would have gone for vanilla socks if I was in a meeting and these were still on Magic Loop. Does that make sense? Anyway, I love them. The yarn itself is Black Wattle yarn and fibre. Did I have the tag in here? I can't see the tag. Black Wattle yarn and fibre. It is the stringy bark sock set, and like I said, the pattern is Gerst. I just liked the way that kind of mirrored bark on a tree. They came with 2 minis, both colours in stringy bark, and I just did cuff, heel and toe, as you see there. I did consider reversing the colours for the second sock, and then I just forgot, and I was like, well, that's fine. I'm just going to keep it as it is, and I do really like having them match. What else is there to say about this? Once they were on DPNs, they flew. I think I've decided that I have to do patterned socks on DPNs. Vanilla socks, Magic Loop, patterned socks, DPN, colourwork socks, 9-inch circular. Everyone has a different preference. Not everyone even likes doing different forms of needles, but I think that is my sweet spot, and that's what I'm going to do from now on. And I kind of want to start a new pair of pattern socks just so I can do more DPNs. I was doing it 2.5mm needle, ChowGoo, red lace, Magic Loop. I did change to 2.5mm ChowGoo DPNs. So they were the same needle brand, needle type, needle size, just DPNs, not Magic Loop. I do have 2.25, like I have a range of different things, but I wanted to keep it as consistent as I could. And I think it worked. Like I can't tell looking at them which one I started on which form. So we're gonna call it good. If I looked closely, I probably could, but that's fine. If I put stuff behind me, yeah, you're gonna be able to see it. That's all right. So that was one of my finishes. I finished it the 5th of August, so exactly 7 months after I started it, and it was 63 grams total. I haven't weighed how much I have left of these ones, but I think I had about 65 grams left of the main colour. All right. The next one that I flashed you quickly before, it is not blocked and I have not even woven in the ends, which is ridiculous because there's a total of 2 of them. But this is the Rainbow Ripple Blanket. It was a free pattern on Ravelry. I don't think it's available anymore, but I've made this many times before. In fact, I saw the one I made for my son, the first one I ever made the other day, and I forgot to bring it in. What can I say? This was Raspberry Ganache, a Yarnspirations Karen Skinny Cakes. Raspberry Ganache colour 18030. Picked this up from Spotlight Australia a couple of years ago now. And I picked it up in order to make a baby blanket. I like to have a couple of fun coloured yarns in my stash for if I need to do a baby blanket. Someone from church is pregnant. I know there's another couple who are trying to have a baby and another couple who may be pregnant. I haven't had confirmation yet, but I do have one more skein of rainbow colours of the Karen Skinny Cakes in my stash, and if I do need another one, then maybe I'll go to the shops, or maybe I'll do... No, I have other yarn in my stash that I can do that I would love to turn into a baby blanket, so that's fun. I may even start that. I mentioned last week, that I only did 11 points for the stars, and I've done that before. I did notice as I got further on this time that the center was poking out more. I think that will block out. I don't think it's a problem, and I know when I've done 12, I've occasionally found it a little bit ripply on the edges. So yeah, I'm expecting it will just block out, but that is the Raspberry Ganache baby blanket for a little girl who is currently in her mummy's tummy. That one I started on the 25th of July and I finished on the 30th of July. It was 241 grams total. I had a little bit left over. It was a 250 gram ball. So I did have a little bit left over that will go into my DK scraps. And I did definitely try hard to get this done by the end of July because I really wanted to have more skeins out than in, and even though the in skeins were hand spun, I needed one more thing out. And when I finished the previous socks that I showed you last week, that didn't count as a skein out because I didn't use more than, which ones were they? Yeah, it was 62 grams, but I still had more than 50 grams in my thing, maybe it did. Maybe that was one of the other 2 out. Anyway, no, it was the dress I made for my daughter. That didn't count as a skein out, even though I used more than half of it. It's still more than 50 grams, so it's still in my stash. That was it. So I needed an extra skein out to make up the difference. All right, I'm just gonna have a sip of coffee. Iced coffee in my Highland Cow cup. These cups I got from Amazon. The stickers I got from Temu. And I can't buy stuff from Temu anymore because it's gonna be so expensive here, but I do love my cow glasses. All right, so that is it for finished objects, I believe. However, I have been working on quite a few things. So, first up is more socks. I said that I was almost halfway through day 10, my 15 socks. I literally have to do a toe on this sock and I will be at halfway point. I will have finished 7.5 pairs out of 15. I love this yarn. bright green heel. So this yarn I bought, so much fun. I hope that it doesn't get too dark. We've got clouds and those clouds are looking grayer and grayer, so I'm hoping the light will hold out for me. This yarn is Grundle Hot Socks Christmas. I have quite a bit of Grundle Hot Socks yarn. This particular one, I believe I bought it at Velnatag Wool. I'm gonna completely blank on this one. It was the yarn show in Wrocław, and I went with Mum last year, and I cannot remember what it was. Anyway, I bought a few skeins of Grundle Christmas yarn, and this was one of them. And I am pairing it with Drops Fable colour 118, which is this, like, that is much brighter than that is showing up. Yeah, it's showing up more, a little bit more tealy, a little bit more bluey. Sorry, the Hot Socks is colour 6343. And yes, I just thought they went together beautifully. I started these very quickly. I just kept wanting to work on the other socks, the Gerst socks, but I took my kids to see the new Paw Patrol movie, the dinosaur one. We watched it in Polish, great little excursion on a very hot day, and I wanted something to knit in the cinema. So I'd done a couple of rows of the cuff. I finished the cuff and did quite a bit of the leg in the cinema, in the movies, and then I came home, finished the heel and got it ready for the last night of my meetings at church, because I had finished, after 2 nights of meetings, I finished my Gerst socks. I do have markers down the front. I just mark every 10 rows, and then I have a different marker for when I have my heel, and I will put in another marker. I think I actually have 2 rows left to knit. Then I'll put in another marker for where I start my toe, and that just means that I can make the second sock match. Again, this is 2.5mm Chow Goo and vanilla socks on Magic Loop with a contrasting heel, toe and cuff. I don't talk about it much in terms of the mods I make to that pattern. I just usually send people to the pattern. There is a tutorial on YouTube if you are interested in learning how to knit socks. That's how I learnt to knit socks. But I do a 2x2 rib cuff instead of 1x1 rib, which is in the pattern and tutorial. And when I get to the heel, rather than knitting across the front and then starting the heel, I actually just turn the sock around and do a purl row on the heel first. The reason I do that, one, I find it easier for counting because I just have the same amount on the front and the back before I start the heel. But it also means that you get this beautiful straight line for where the heel starts. If you do knit a row and then start the pattern, sorry, knit half the row and then start the pattern on the back, then you end up having the slip stitch from the colour coming down into the heel. Now in Kaye's tutorial, she has a tutorial for a contrast heel, and in that she will say knit the first one straight, purl back and then knit, but then you end up with 1 row of extra of the heel colour that isn't in the pattern. So I just turn my sock around and purl the first row and then the pattern matches. I do that anyway now. I don't do it just for a contrast heel. If that didn't make sense to you, don't worry about it. If you have been wanting to do contrast heels and try and figure out how to get that clean colour change, hopefully that worked for you, made sense. I'm hoping with these ones, these are a gift, I'm hoping that I can finish them and then make another pair for me with the same yarn, because I really like it. And this is in a bag that I made that is, I couldn't tell you anything about the fabric. It was from when I worked in the patchwork shop. I'm pretty sure I bought this, or maybe I've worked in 2 patchwork shops. This may have been the second one. And it's just a simple drawstring bag. All right, So that is that one. This next one, I was very excited to get out again, and I'm sure some of you will be excited to see it again. This was day 1 of 12 cast-ons this year. Did I mention what 12 cast-ons is? 12 cast-ons is a Makealong hosted by Ange of Yarn and Yarns. Hi Ange, if you're watching. She started doing it and a whole lot of people wanted to jump on board, and now it's this whole big Makealong. Basically you start up to 12 projects between the 24th of December and the end of January the following year, and then you work on them throughout the year. So if you're interested in joining in, you can't do it now because it's not between Christmas and the end of January, but you can get ready to join in next year's Makealong starting December 24th. I am already thinking and planning, but for now, this was day 1 of my 2026 cast-ons, my little gingerbread man that I printed. I will have the file for this down below if you can print. Every time I try and print more of these to make as a gift or a prize or something, it kind of screws up our printer. And the main thing is because I print them in silks. And so every time I do it, it has a problem when it changes silk color. And I've not had this problem printing silk with anything else, just this pattern. So it's originally, I think they're designed for bigger things and I've downsized them. So maybe that's part of the problem. But anyway, the pattern file will be down below. You probably need to know how to do it. I printed it with a 2mm nozzle. But yes, unfortunately, in these colors at least, I'm not going to be making any more of these. But they are quite fun. And I have to decide now whether I'm going to reuse these next year or whether I'm going to find a different one. This is where I'm up to. So I've done another couple, like 2.5 inches since I last showed it. I did weigh the ball, the main color, not too long ago, and I think I still have like 60 or 70 grams. This is by Ferno, Sapino Surprise. Color, do I have the tag? Yes, I do have the tag. Color 96. Sapino Surprise. By Ferno is a shop here in Poland. It's 100% merino. And I have 2 scrap balls. I do Russian joins, Russian knots, Russian joins. If you're interested in more about that, day 1 of the 12 cast-ons, I go into a lot more detail of how I make the scrap balls and give a bit of a demonstration as well. I'm just going to go until the main colour is run out, and if I need to add a little bit more to the scrap balls to get them to go the same length, I can. This is the linen soup wrap, I think it is. It is a pay-for pattern on Ravelry. I did get it when it was being given away for free as a promotional thing. So I didn't pay for it, but I have very much enjoyed knitting it. It was available for everyone for free for the first, I don't know, week or 2 of being released on Ravelry. Yeah, love it. You could do this with 3 balls of scraps. You could do this with 3 solid colors. Very, very simple pattern, very memorizable. I don't look at the pattern at all anymore. And yes, some scrappy knitting there. So I've made a bit of progress. Oh, I'm going to move that marker. So next time I come, I know where I'm up to. I actually pulled out another shawl, the one that I showed in my last episode, the With Grace in Your Heart shawl, which is a pattern by Kaye. And I realized that I've done exactly half a row since I last showed it. So I'm not showing that one again, but it is there waiting to be worked on. All right, this next one is a 12 cast-ons project from 2025. This was the first time I joined in 12 cast-ons. Yes, it's a colourwork sock and it's inside out because that's how I knit colourwork portions of socks on 9-inch circular. I started this so many years ago and I did not really know what I was doing knitting colourwork socks. I didn't really know what I was doing when I bought this pattern, have many years before that. I just loved the look of the pattern. So the pattern is Jingle Jangle Socks by Twin Stitches Designs. There's my marker from my first time of doing it, day 7. Jingle Jangle Socks by Twin Stitches Design. Now, there is the chart. That chart is repeated on the foot until it's long enough, and then you do the toe. And then you've got the gusset and the heel flap. So the heel flap and gusset done in one colour, and on the second sock you do it in a second colour. So looking at them, I thought they were really scrappy. Knitting them, I've realised that they're not scrappy. They're just repeating, but with an easy way of not having to do like chart changes and a decrease in the middle of the chart for the foot. So yes, a simple way of doing socks. If you're interested in colour work, I mean, you could just stop at the heel and do a plain foot. I did decide to keep going with the colour work just because I really loved the look. Like, look at those trees and colours. I am doing this pretty much as close as I could to the original colours because I just loved them. I think I did use Stash for it all. This is going back a year and a half now. I'm pretty sure I used Stash for it all, but yes, as close to the original colours as I could. This does not fit me. I am now making it for my son, and it will be his Christmas socks. I was planning to make colourwork Christmas socks for him, so that works fine. And because it's for my son, like, I need to measure his foot because I suspect it's going to not be anywhere near as long as the pattern repeat. Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, we'll see. So I'm going to do that. I have done, I think I was in the middle of the heel flap last time I showed you, so I've done a fair bit. This and the other Christmas socks are the only socks I have on my needles at the moment. I have 2 pairs and that is it. That's kind of surprising to me, but that is the way it is. And so I think I want to keep 1 pair of vanilla socks on the needles, but I also want to finish these ones because I started them the 2nd of January 2025. I want them finished, I want them done. My son will love wearing them, and then I will think about what to, actually I already have plans for what to cast on next. I'm making a pair of socks for one of my sister's friends as a thank you, and so I have just dyed yarn actually, hoping to make socks for her. So that will be once these ones are done, or maybe even before these ones are done. We'll see. I will start them. The yarn is drying for those ones. Oh, the yarn for this. This is a bit of a mixed bag. Like I said, I was using Stash. This is undyed sock yarn. I did buy it at a yarn show, but I don't remember who from. This is Blackwater Yarn Melly, which is the black. This is Yavol, Lane Yavol Superwash, but I can't tell you which colour. This is also Lane Yavol Superwash, cannot tell you which colour. And then I have 2 Drops Fables. And one is 117 and the other is 114. And I cannot be more specific than that. I am sorry. I've been watching Jen of Stash Down Diaries. I started watching her videos not too long ago actually. She does 12 cast-ons as well, and she vlogs about them. And so I remember watching her 12 cast-on videos in 2026, and I think I watched a few of them in 2025. But since I watched them in 2026, I've been keeping up with her videos and really enjoying them. And last night I'd caught up on all of my videos and I started watching her older episodes from when she started her Stash Down. They were really interesting. So I'm, in my mind, they're now connected to Stash Down Diaries, which they're also stashing down, so that's good. Yeah. They are also part of the Merry Makealong by Carla Knits and the Christmas in July Makealong by Amanda of Little Lycac Yarn. Little Lycac? Little Lycac. Both those ladies are hosting Christmas in July knit-alongs for both July and August, And I've been really terrible. I don't think I've actually posted any photos in the Ravelry knit-alongs. I'm just mentally knitting along with them. So we'll see if I post photos. I really should. And go check out what other people are making. But I'm just like, it's Christmas in July. They're doing Makealongs. I'm gonna make. And that's what I'm doing. All right, this next one that I have to show you is out of a vintage pattern book. I'm making this one, the oval one. This is a hot plate mat. This is a book, a magazine. Check out the color. This was a gift from Felicia. She sent me a bunch of vintage crochet and knitting magazines, and I think it may be a book or two. So grateful. And I started this one almost straight away, and then I lost motivation. Actually, I think I went traveling and I never came back to it. I'm knitting this on a 2.5mm needle. Again, I think this was a set from Temu. And this is where I'm up to. I think last time I showed you, I had just finished these baubles, like this row of baubles, and had started the first like normal row in the middle. And so I picked it up the other day. It was so hot. Oh my goodness, so hot. And I just could not stomach anything big and heavy. And I thought, you know what? A little bit of crochet that's nice and light, that'll be perfect. Picked this up. I was like, I might just do half a row or something. I finished the row and did 3 more rows of the intermediate one. And then I started the row of popcorn bubbles on the outside. Yeah, this I don't think is going to take long when I actually sit down and work on it. I am excited to use it. We still need it for our table, so it's very practical. I just keep getting distracted with other things. But yes, I'm enjoying how it's working out. This is Colin cotton and linen yarn. It is 65% cotton, 35% linen, made in North Macedonia. There you go. Yarbo is how I'm going to pronounce it. I'm not sure what it is. And this is, I'm going to say colour 28110. I could be getting colour and a lot mixed up, but I think that's the colour. I'm not a huge fan of this yarn. I've knit a jumper. I've knit a top out of it, and I bought enough in the purple to make myself a top as well, and didn't really love it, so I've been making things around the house. I've already made coasters, and now I'm making a hot plate mat. And then if I still have more, which I'm sure I will, I'll find something else to do with it. All right, the next project that I'm working on is my Choose Your Fellowship 2 jumper. This is a jumper that I'm making as a gift, and I am almost finished the first chart. Can I show you? Oh, look at that. So these are swords. You can see I've almost finished the handle down here. The hilt is done. Is that the hilt? I'm going to use the wrong terminology. My husband's not going to be impressed. It is a Lord of the Rings themed jumper, and it's a choose your own adventure. So there are a whole bunch of charts and you just choose which ones you want. It's by Grey Owl Knits. Yep, Grey Owl Knits, Sarah Kelly. She includes how big the charts are if you're hitting gauge. And so my plan after this first one is to figure out if I'm hitting gauge, and if I am, that'll be great, and if not, then it will still give me an idea of how to adjust for each pattern. There are short rows, so that's the back with the short rows. If I show you the front, no short rows, but at the same point with the pattern. This one I am using Drops Fable as well, and this is colour 121. And the contrast colour here is that one? Is it that one? I'm gonna say 122. I'm not certain on that because the label has fallen off. Is it that one? Oh. No. Oh. Sorry. Yeah, that's 122. This will be 121. And I just have a bunch of other scraps in here, scraps or new balls that I already had in my stash that I had collected for doing colour work with. And so these are my other colours to go in further down the line. Drops Fable is on sale at the moment, and so I'm tempted to go get a couple more balls because I do not have enough for what the pattern says I will need for the contrast colour. So actually I need to have a look and see when the sale is until, because I don't want to buy new yarn, but I also want to be able to finish the sweater. Actually, this main colour is one of the sweater quantities that I have bought this year. I bought 14 balls already for this jumper out of this main colour. And so once I finish the jumper, which hopefully I will finish in the next 7 weeks, that will be a significant amount out of my stash. So if I buy another couple of balls to be able to finish it, that's okay. Yeah. This next one is very, very exciting. This is in a bag that my son made for me as a Mother's Day present, I think maybe, as part of his schooling. This is the temperature blanket. Now, I haven't been working on this as much as I should have been if I was trying to keep up with it daily or anything like that, but I have done some. So this is where I'm up to. You can see this down here is where I was up to when I last showed it. Not very far. All of my ends in the middle are still there because I want to wait until I've picked up to join them. But yes, on this side, I have knit that much in the past week, I'm gonna say. It has been incredibly hot, which means small projects like this are pretty good. But also, it's been incredibly hot and I want to record it. And I'm still in, I've just finished February and started March on this side. This is, I think, January, ready to start Feb, or almost the end of January. I think I've got 3 more days of January before I start Feb. So I've got a bit of a ways to go to catch up to where we are in August. But I love it. I love the way that it's looking. I love the colours in it. It is very, very easy to knit. I'm not looking forward to all of the ends weaving in. And so what I'm doing is I'm carrying the yarns. If it's within like 5 days, which is 10 rows, 1 there, 1 back, then I'm not cutting the yarn. If it's more than that, I'm cutting the yarn. I've got a couple more of colour number 5, which is what I've got currently on the needle. And then I'll have another couple of colour number 4, which is here. And then I'm gonna have like most of March is colour number 5. So I'll just be going back and forward, which means the minimums in March were between 1 and 5 degrees every day, almost in March. Between 1 and 5 degrees is a minimum. Anything with this this blue or the like the paler colour, all of that, that's all negative numbers, 0 or less. Beginning of the year is cold here in Poland. But now that we're getting up to the hot numbers, hot degrees, and I have split from less than -16 to more than 36 degrees is like my 2 highest and lowest. And we have had both less than -16 or 36 degrees or higher in this year already. So I get to use every colour. This one, I went into it a lot more earlier in the year, but basically I went through my stash when I was packing up to move, and I found a whole bunch of stuff that I was like, I can use this in a blanket. And so I just pulled out single skeins or scraps. Some of them, you know, are 50 grams because that's my lowest number. Some of them were brand new skeins. Some of them were not. This one is my number 5. And I'm just holding one of this, which was I think about 80 grams, together with a mini. This is not going to last. So what I did last night was I had a little rummage and I found this skein in my stash, which matches that mini quite well. It's not exact, but it is very, very close considering it's a little more green, a little less blue. So I'm going to wind this one up and keep using it because that's not going to last with the amount of number 5s I need at the moment. And then I've got another couple in here, like this is one of my colors, but this is definitely not enough. And I think I had another ball, but I'm still not sure it's going to be enough. So I need to then start thinking, like, do I hold this double with something? So I'm going to have to do a bit of yarn management, I think. And if I am swapping out colors halfway through, that's how it is. That's just what it's going to be to get this one done. With a temperature blanket from stash, that's just the reality of it. I didn't want to go out and buy a whole bunch of yarn to do this. And yeah, you can't tell at the beginning of a year how much you're going to need of anything. So that's fine. I am hoping to, well, I went through and I recorded all the temperatures, and I also recorded, like, wrote down what number of each yarn I need to use for that temperature through to like 2 days ago. I did it yesterday. So through to 2 days ago, I put all that information into my book, which is right here. Let me show you what it looks like. This is how I'm doing it. So I just have these little calendar days, and so as I do it, I cross off what I've done, and this is August over here. So all the information is there, and it is just easy to go through and add in days now. However, because I'm starting with the lower ones, as I'm now getting into the 5s and 6s, that's still the higher one, or the lower ones on the high side. Did I even explain that? I'm doing highs and lows of each day. So one side is highs, one side is lows. I'm doing the low side first and joining the highs to the lows, which means at some point I'm just going to have to cut the yarn and then go do the low side and get it to about the same point and then go back to the high side. I kept trying to be like, maybe I could like knit the high side so far that I'm already not using those yarns before I start the low side, the high side. I'm confusing myself. Do the low side so I'm not using the yarns anymore and take them to the high side, but that's the wrong way around because the low highs are still higher than the high lows. Yes? All right, I'm going to stop talking about highs and lows. It's fine. I'll do it. I'll cut the yarn. I think when I do this next lot, which is just all 5s for almost the entirety of the month, I might just, everything else would already be cut, so I can just cut the 5 and go do the other side a bit. I think I might do that. Yeah, so that is the temperature blanket. I am working on it, and now that I've got a couple of days that are the highest, I think I've got 2, maybe 3 of the highest number, the highest color, that's really tempting to keep working on it. All right, so that is all of my knitting of what I've actually knit. I do have this for spinning, which is my most recent spin that is not plied. This one I think I showed last time. That is a scrappy bat from Fibre Art Shed. This is also a scrappy bat from Fibre Art Shed. And so I've done singles and I'm just going to ply them together. This one I split the bat in half, stripped it down into 4 sections, and I just spun each section individually end to end, and so you get kind of 2 or 3 colors at a time playing. The other one I just spun across the top of the bat back and forward, and so you do get all the colors in a much shorter range of time. I have no idea how this is going to play out. They were all very similar colors, this one leaning more green and this one leaning more orange, but actually the same colors. So I'm just going to fly it up and see where it goes. It will be 200 grams total spin, also 100% merino, non-superwash. So we'll see where we go. But that is ready for plying. I've just started, I finished that a couple of days ago, and so I've started the second ply of another yarn that has been sitting waiting, and once that is done I will ply this up. I also did some yarn dyeing. As I mentioned, it was very, very, very hot, and I am starting to get ready to dye my advent yarn. So every year, me and my sister and my mum and 3 friends, we do an advent swap where we all dye 4 or 5 colours, and then we swap the yarn, and then we have a little hand dyed advent based around a theme or whatever we choose. I wanted to get working on that. I'm in the middle of winding up the yarn into minis so that I can dye them, and it was really hot, so I decided I wanted to try solar dyeing. That is putting everything that you would need to dye into a jar or something and putting it out in the sun and let the heat from the sun dye it rather than from an oven or a kitchen pot or whatever, stove or whatever. So I tried that and it worked pretty well. These are some 10 gram minis that I had already wound up into 10 gram minis and left for just play dyeing at some point. These two, the pink and the green, were RIT dyes that a friend brought me back from America. So they are just the colour straight out of the bottle, and the purple is Jacquard dyes mostly, I'm going to say. I do have another couple of brands, but Jacquard dyes that had been pre-mixed in a jar, and I just put that into the citric acid and water and put the mini in. And so I did find it interesting how this one seemed to strike a little differently, a bit more piecemeal. Some parts are stronger, but some parts are paler, and the RIT dyes was very all over, much more evenly dyed. So that was fun. This one was also a pre-mix that I had from my Jacquard dyes, so acid dyes, and that one also seemed quite regular. So it was just the purple that seemed a little bit less regular. These were just fun. Like, I didn't have a specific plan. I was thinking for the Visto top sweater that I want to make, that if I had a few more colours to play with, that could be nice. I'm now thinking potentially the Cottage Heart socks by Kaye the Crazy Sock Lady. This could be a bit, well, maybe not this one. Some of these would be nice to use in that, and whether I put it with this or something different, I'm thinking about that. I did also dye like an aquarine mini as well, and a full skein of a deeper, more dusty blue. This is 50 grams, 10 grams each. I've got a 10 gram of the bright blue and 100 grams of the dustier blue. So they're all waiting to dry. And I did dye some fibre, and this was the main reason I wanted to try solar dyeing, is because I wanted something that would be more gentle on fibre than having something boiling on the stove or in a crock pot. The ones that I did in the jar, this is why these are dry, because I did them in jars, dyed great. The yarn struck to the dye, it set nicely, there was definitely enough heat. The ones that I put in metal pots did not get hot enough, which really surprised me. I thought the metal would heat up a lot more, but what happened is, I don't know if it's just because there was a lot of air in the pots, it wasn't all water, but it didn't keep the heat in the same way. And so it didn't actually get hot enough to dye, or to actually keep the dye on the yarn, to set the dye, is probably what I'm trying to say. So I had to wait until this morning when it had cooled down again so that I could set them in the oven and on the stove, and then they are now wet and drying. But I do think doing it in the stove, like in the oven, was gentler than it was doing it in a crock pot or something like that. So that's interesting to me, and I'm very excited. If I remember, I'll put a picture up here of the fibre that I dyed. So pretty, very much looking forward to spinning it. It's 100% Corriedale. Yeah, I think that's all there is about that one. The Advent this year, I know some of you are very interested because I've been doing this for a few years. The first year, me and my sister did a Friends theme and we just swapped yarns from our stash and wrote quotes to go with it. The second year, which was when we actually did a hand dyed, we did a colour gradient from the whole rainbow. Everyone got a section to dye of the gradient. The third year we did Christmas movies. And then last year we did Jane Austen. Everyone got a book and we did 4 colours from each book. This year we're doing The Way of the Wildflowers. The Way of the Wildflower. So Gospel Meditations to Unburden Your Anxious Soul. This is by Ruth Chow Simmons. The Advent book that I've read the last couple of years is by Ruth. She is an artist, so this book, without showing you everything, but it's just full of hand painted beautiful flowers. Just stunning. And then she's written some little devotionals, like so pretty. She's written some devotionals to go with that. So it's a 30-day devotional. We have 6 people, and what we've previously done is a 24 or 25-day countdown. This year we're going to do 30 days, which means it will go to after Christmas, and it means that each of us are dyeing 5 minis. So we'll have a 30-day Advent, 1 to go with each of the flowers in the book, and I'm hoping to do a crocheted blanket, the same one that Carla from Carla Knits did last year, as one of her 12 cast-ons, I believe it was. So I'm thinking of doing that. I've got the yarn to dye for the Advent, and I've also got 3 extra skeins that I could dye as a background colour to join it. So we'll see how that goes. But yes, I love it. I'm going through and picking the colours at the moment. And so that's why I really wanted to try some solar dyeing and get some, figure out how dyeing works in this new apartment of ours. I think it will be fine. All right, so now I have a little bit of plans and coming up. I did mention the Christmas in July and the Merry Makealong happening at the moment. I did wind these up. These, if I start them in time, will be part of both of those. They are also part of my day 10 cast on for the 12 cast-ons. So this one here, it is opal. I decided to skein it up this time, cake it up this time. It is opal and it is colour 11197. It's a little sneak peek of how it might knit up. This is, yes, a Christmas gift for this year, so I need to get going on that one. And this is for someone who I almost always, I think always, have knit him opal socks. He likes having consistency in his life, and I think this might be the last or second to last opal ball that I have in my stash. So I'll knit this, I'll give it to him this year. It means that I'm probably going to have to buy some more opal socks, opal yarn, before next year, because I do knit for this person quite a lot. This one has some fun pops of colour in it. Not that you can see all of them. It has orange, red, yellow, green, blue, I believe. And this is Lang Mixed Tape Socks, Super Socks. It is a 75-25. It's just the nature in Lang's Super Socks that did not have any polymid. And this is colour 455. And I don't know if you can see that, a little preview of how that one should knit up. This is also a Christmas present, and I need to get both of these finished reasonably quickly so that I can send them back to Australia. So they are both part of the Christmas knitting. And from Yarn and Yarns is now hosting an autumn Makealong, which makes me very happy. And I do have the Bradley Cop Stitch jumper, which is an orange jumper, which works perfectly for that. I also have the Alpine Bloom tee, which I was working on for my tea knit along, and then I put it down, and I would love to finish it. I just need to do the sleeves, which is like cast on a few rows of lace and then kitchenette. Like, it's not hard, I just haven't done it. I just have to stop and think about it, and then a few more inches on the body and it's done. Like, it's not much to go. So I was like, maybe I could get the oomph to finish that one. It is orange as a main colour. I've got the Bradley Cop stitch, which I've been itching to work on, but haven't been because I've got other things I need to do. But I thought once I finish those 2 pairs of socks, I might cast on this one. So this is Trekking XXL colour 834. And this is one that I did by myself, for myself this year. I just loved those autumnal colours. And so I thought maybe I could do a follow your path, I think is what it's called. Crazy Sock Lady Designs. I knit one not very long ago, and so I thought maybe I could do another one for me, but I'd like to see if I could make them a bit longer to go with my snow boots or something like that. I just loved those colours and they scream autumn to me, so that will be part of that Makealong as well. The last Makealong I wanted to mention is one that I guess I'll be hosting here actually. I mentioned last week the Visto, which is a new sweater by Anna Johanna. It is beautiful, it is scrappy. I will again try and put a picture here. She used Pythagoras theorem to figure out how to design this sweater, and so it's like, it meets in the middle. I mean, this is a v-neck, so I do have a similar thing on, but she has panels that come down and meet in the middle. And then rather than doing short rows to shape like this one has, I think you just keep knitting and decreasing at the ends, and then you have a back panel which is just one colour. Or, as I thought earlier, you could do scraps and do a gradient on the back. That would be fun. And then sleeves, like just really, really fun. I love all of the different ones that people have been making. My sister and I were talking about this, saying we'd really love to knit it. And so we decided, instead of doing the West Knits Knit Along this year, which we have done, I think we've done 5 years of now, this year we're going to do a Visto Makealong instead. Now, Anna Johanna is, I'm just going to shut these windows because that is quite loud. Sorry, I just realised that there was kids playing outside and it just got really loud. Anna Johanna is currently hosting a Visto Makealong at the moment. The pattern is being released in stages, and so she has like a little, this is when the pattern is going to be released, this is the day that the next part comes out, this is the day the next part comes out. It's not a mystery, it's just a Makealong in stages. My sister and I have done the West Knits Makealong, Mystery Knit Along for the last 5 years, I think. We have a lot of shawls. And while I love doing them and I love learning new things, I decided this year when I saw this one, I messaged her, I said, I really want to make this sweater. And she was like, oh, that'd be fun. Maybe I could look in my stash and see what I can find to do it with you. And both of us were like, we don't have time to start it now. Like we don't want to jump in and start a new project. There are other things that we're both working on. And so we're like, maybe not yet. My sister is coming to visit me for the first time. She is coming to visit me here in Poland. And she's coming for my birthday, which is at the end of September, as part of her birthday present, because her birthday is also in September. And so she said, well, why don't we cast on together in person? And I said, yes, absolutely, please, thank you very much, and to you, Carla. And that's what we're going to do. So we're not joining in the knit along that Anna Johanna is hosting, but I am going to be knitting it with my sister. I mentioned last week that I was probably going to be knitting it and it's to see if anyone else was interested, and I did get at least 1, maybe 2 people saying they were interested. So I think I'm just going to make it a thing. We're doing a Visto knit along. If you're interested in joining in, let me know. It will be end of September. My sister arrives on the 25th, and probably, maybe, we'll just do a video and like cast on in person with you. Probably not live, but we can record us casting on and you can join in when you can. But yeah, so I don't know how long that will actually go for. Actually, I was thinking if we can keep the schedule of Annie Hannah's one, because she's got that up of like this week, this week, this week, this week, then it can still have the feel of the MCAL that we're used to doing, just making the project that we really want to make this time. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. There is lace, there is vanilla knitting, there is shaping, but it does, the test knitters were like, all the information is there. If you read the pattern, it's very simple, but also pay attention. So, and my mum said that she might be joining in as well. I do remember that. Anyway, so if you have fingering weight scraps, get them out and have a look. I had a look at my ones and I have to say I was not very inspired. And I was thinking maybe I need to dye some, maybe I need to get some, which is why I also dyed some minis with the solar dyeing. And then I remembered that I had a couple of minis, not scraps, minis that I'd put away, and for some reason they weren't with the rest of my sock yarn or whatever. Some of them I weren't sure if they were sock yarns, but I basically just had a bag of minis. I took 2 minis out, and this is what I was left with. I'm so excited. Yeah, so I took 2 minis out. I added a couple of scraps at the top. I did grab a couple of skeins that I had that I thought would go nicely. This one here is a full skein, and these 2 here are full skeins. In fact, yeah, I've got 2 of the pink. I had put them aside probably for a t-shirt, but when I saw that all of my minis were these tealy greens and a little bit of blue, like look at this one. Blue, pink, speckles. I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna grab, I now have 4 full skeins with all the minis in here. So I'm not gonna use all this yarn. But I thought let's just put it together in a bag, and that can be my inspiration for this jumper, the V-Stu. Yeah, so go have a look, see what you've got. We also might be dyeing yarn for my sister because I don't think she has enough in her stash. Her stash is much smaller than mine. Or maybe she'll shop my stash, you never know. But we'll find some yarn for her to use. I think for the back and the sleeves is where you need bigger amounts. So we'll get that going. But if you are interested, end of September, I will be, when we cast on, I will give you an update of days and times and everything if you want to join in all the official timing. But my knit-alongs are generally pretty relaxed, so basically join in and knit and let me know what you're knitting. All right, I think I'm just checking my notes here to see if there's anything else that I haven't mentioned. I think that is everything. I'm looking around, I don't see anything I haven't shown you. It has been a delight to spend some time with you again and share what I've been working on. I've just shared a lot of plans, I guess, but I don't have any particular plans of what I'm going to pick up next. I do need to finish the Choose Your Fellowship jumper because that is for my brother and I want to send it home with my sister when she comes. So I've got like 7 weeks to get that one done. Can I do it? Can I focus? And the Christmas socks. Other than that, it's just going to be pick what I want to work on when I want to work on it. Yeah, so thank you so much, as always. Excuse me. I would love to hear what you've been working on while you join me today. Even if you've been doing dishes or laundry or whatever it is, I often listen to podcasts while I'm doing things like that, cooking dinner. I would love to hear what you've been working on, and I'd love to hear what your creative activities has been, even if you're not doing that while you watch today. I love reading all of your comments. I love hearing about all the things that you're making, and I look forward to doing that again this time. If you are not subscribed to this channel and you want to hear about new videos that I put out, please do subscribe, hit the like button. It helps other people find this channel. Like I said, it's just a hobby that I'm doing here, but it is encouraging when people join. Yeah, I think that's it. So thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you next time, probably in a week or 2. We'll see how much knitting I get done this week with my in-person knitting friend here, and I will see you again soon. Bye.